Spark is thrilled to unveil the 2024 Singapore AI and Cloud Security Readiness Report. We work closely with our tech partners, Palo Alto Networks and TrueVisor to bring together our tech practitioner community, from CIO communities to CISO communities, to share with us their leading priorities and challenges in navigating today's complex hybrid and cloud environments. Let's get started. Now, we know cloud is a one-way journey. And for many organizations, they have moved not only their nice-to-have applications onto the cloud, but also mission-critical workloads. And now, as an industry, we have to also modernize our cybersecurity practices to be cloud-ready. We can see that 80% of organizations have transitioned into the cloud and have also built advanced integrations in today's cloud environment. Now, while many organizations have identified critical workloads that will be migrated or have already been migrated into the cloud, less than a third of organizations have strengthened cloud-native security and resilience. And this is something as practitioners we have to note, because while we have extended what we know best, our legacy on-premise cybersecurity capabilities, into the cloud, today's complex and ever-evolving cloud environment requires security practitioners to think in cloud-native terms. Now, to add to today's challenges, AI has also been deeply embedded in today's cloud operations. Just by polling our community, we see that 50% of them have started using AI and encoding and implementation processes across the software development life cycle. And in fact, even in new observability, monitoring and incident response processes. So we see this as a double-edged sword. On one hand, AI is used today to modernize in today's modern cybersecurity stack. On the other hand, AI also introduces new vulnerabilities to today's operating environment, especially when more than 82% of AI workloads will be deployed into the cloud. So as such, protecting our data on the cloud with the use of AI is going to be critical to ensure organizations are secure from the edge to the core and in their new AI initiatives as well. Now, when it comes to protecting our AI workloads and our data in the cloud, it is no surprise that most organizations place data security and privacy as the top priority when protecting data in cloud production environments. It is in fact cited as the most urgent IT priority among practitioners today. Now, the third biggest risk cited by practitioners when surveyed is the injection of malicious code into open source, cloud, and AI operating environments. The second biggest risk is something very common, is the misconfiguration of cloud services, due and even made exacerbated because today's cloud processes are automated by AI. We've seen human error as a leading cause of misconfiguration and subsequent breaches in the cloud. And today's toolkits enable organizations to stay ahead of such human errors and utilize AI in an intelligent way, no pun intended, to ensure that their cloud deployments are secure. The last and most critical risk area that practitioners have to address is data loss from targeted AI processes. Now, we know that AI today will be deployed on the cloud, and majority of AI workloads will be moved to the cloud in the future. And cybersecurity attackers have also become more sophisticated, targeting AI processes in particular that are deployed in the cloud. So today, what steps have organizations taken to ensure that they protect themselves in the cloud? When we look at the findings of the survey, and you can review the findings in greater detail in our full survey report that will be shared on our waspark.com website, is that organizations have started planning or already implemented cloud-native security architectures. And it's heartening to know that more than 50% have taken active steps and have gone into the implementation phase of continuous security posture monitoring and protecting cloud-native applications while improving cloud workload security. And 29% have also gone further to actively monitor the evolving cloud landscape, monitor our cyber threat landscape, and practice proactive defense to address the evolving threat landscape today. So, in summary, what are the top 5 must-dos today for a successful cloud security strategy? The first is to build continuous monitoring across all your active cloud estates. The old saying goes, you cannot defend what you cannot see. So to build continuous monitoring is a natural important tenet to successful cloud security. Second is to update policies specific to cloud governance. And in protecting today's cloud-native environments, policies specific to operating on the cloud need to be enforced and updated regularly. Third, improve data encryption and data loss prevention to safeguard sensitive information on the cloud. Well, today, because of the way we share data with other organizations as we partner and innovate, it is difficult to keep our crown jewels hidden in a storage box somewhere. It has to be shared and has to be shared on cloud. Hence, strengthening data security capabilities in cloud-native environments has become an important factor to successful cloud security management. Fourth, we need to hire cloud security certified talent into the security team or retrain and upskill our existing security teams and workforce, not only within the 4 walls of the traditional security and IT department, but also promote hygiene practices among our business users and our leadership teams. Last but not least, and this would probably be important for security practitioners, to adopt a unified centralized security pane of glass with advanced threat detection capabilities. So this is going to be critical to provide practitioners with a single layer of orchestration to identify and remediate cyber threats. So I hope this quick sharing gives you a better understanding of Singapore's cloud security landscape. After which, please stay on to hear the views of 2 cyber practitioners and 1 cyber expert to share about how they're operationalizing some of these strategies in their organizations. So welcome to the panel segment of the discussion. So we just launched the 2024 AI and Cybersecurity Cloud Readiness Report. And so we have to thank our community for sharing with us their top priorities and challenges. But it would be really good to hear from you in the panel, and like to introduce you in a while what you think as a practitioner, as a tech expert on the latest cloud landscape, how that's evolving and what it means to you as a practitioner in an organization. So I'd like to just introduce the panel first. First, we have Pauline Wee, Head Information and Cybersecurity for Citrum. Second, we have Scott Lee, Head of Cybersecurity for SATS Limited. And last but not least, we have Chen Jun, or in short, CJ, from the cloud from Palo Alto Networks. So Chen Jun looks after cloud engagement for Palo Alto Networks. So it's an informal chat, but it will be good to hear your views as practitioners on how today's evolving cloud landscape has reshaped some of your strategies and priorities for cybersecurity. So maybe Scott, since you're the practitioner, I start with you first. Scott, you of course have been a CISO and now you're representing an aviation services company. And what's interesting right now is today's aviation ground operations across your services operates as a connected offering. You have you have services on the ground. You also have core IT operations. Now, just as a practitioner, as more organizations get more connected and move a lot of their workloads into the cloud, what should organizations do to modernize their cyber stack to become more cloud ready?
It's a tough question, but before I even go there, firstly, thank you for inviting me. It's my very first time doing a podcast, so kind of excited. But back to the tough question, I think there are a few things that we're going to look into. Not going to share technicalities because I'm sure the report has a lot of technical stuff, a lot of recommendations, so go read the report. But what I think is very important is for our own engineers, our own internal team to be constantly updated with the landscape, especially what's happening in the market, what are the new tech trends, what are the new offerings, and more importantly, what are the attackers, the threat actors targeting. Vulnerabilities evolve tremendously in the recent months and years. So it's important for us to be in the know, so that we may not be able to protect every single thing, but at least we will not be so backward such that when they hit us, we have no idea what to do.
So Ling Wei, same question to you. The landscape and your IT footprint has definitely expanded over the years. More and more digitally connected services are now found at the edge. Right? Now, coming from the maritime industry, I'm sure you experienced that a lot in your sector. What are your observations about what's happening within the sector and how you see cloud reshaping some of the cybersecurity strategies within your organization and the industry broadly?
Yep. So, okay, it's my first time on a podcast too, so I'm not an excellent speaker. So personally, I think within CTRM, I mean, there's a strong push towards cloud, and whether it's SaaS, whether it's hosting on cloud, whatever. So I think the first thing that we always need to be aware of is that hosting on cloud doesn't push the responsibility away from our IT team, from our cyber team. So we need to understand that cloud itself there's a shared responsibility model from a security viewpoint. So I think one of the keys is that we actually need to be very aware. We need to monitor our cloud posture, the security posture within the cloud, and that's something that a lot of people miss. So they just say, hey, just give it the cloud and everything works, and we don't have to take care of a lot of things. So there are a few key areas that we really need to emphasize when you go to cloud. I think first is obviously protecting your identity. I think identities are something that people just take and forget, and then hopefully everything will work. But I think if you look at the recent, a lot of breaches, I think it has to do with not protecting your identity properly. And then the other thing that I can think of, I mean, there's many considerations. The other consideration is around your resiliency. So when people go to cloud, they'll say, okay, forget about it, backup and everything works. So we don't have to test the backup, we don't test the DR, we don't test anything. But the fact is that you cannot do that, because if you got breached, if you host on one of the cloud and for some reason everything got corrupted, so where's your backup plan? What should you do? I mean, a lot of times people forget about this and they assume that it will just come back up. So I think that's also the other area that we need to really emphasize on, is the resiliency. And a lot more, but I'll let other speakers share more. Thank you.
Thanks, Ling Wei. You're saying it's the first time. It doesn't sound like it's the first time. You said it so well, right? The two areas you mentioned, one is protecting identity, and we want to delve into that later, because of poor identity protection, we see a lot of lateral movement across the organization when attackers first gain access into a corporate network. And because of that, breakout time today is very short. Within 1.5 hours, attackers are able to break out across the network after gaining first access and get credential escalation. So privilege escalation and credential theft is a big problem. And the other that you mentioned was also on resiliency. In fact, in Indonesia, there was a major breach, and it was not, they were suffering twice, because first they suffered an attack, second they couldn't recover, there was no backup, and that created issues. So maybe CJ, coming to you, so as I'm told, you are the resident expert here at the beautiful Palo Alto Networks office. So CJ, what are observations, what are organizations missing when they are migrating their workloads to the cloud from a cybersecurity angle?
So actually, I do agree with the language mentioned about the few of the risks that we are constantly seeing in the cloud environments come from a few angles. Number one, open source vulnerabilities. Second part, misconfigurations. Third part is actually open misuse sets, which is related to IMT. Malware is another one, and API security is another one, and of course, data leakage risk is another one. So we are seeing this 6 risk is constantly, okay? But of course, we do see certain things involved with latest technology. For example, we are seeing AI power attack.
Yep.
Okay, we are seeing AI generated code, which is bringing quite a lot of vulnerabilities as well. There's one another things we are interested in seeing is attack shift to the left. So we are seeing attacks coming into the CI/CD ecosystem of things like pipeline poisoning, things like attacking on the vulnerabilities on the pipeline itself. So these are all the things that's getting involved. But the risk we are seeing in the top 6 is pretty much just constant.
CJ, do you see now with AI being used more and more in the typical CI/CD pipeline, and that's covered in the report, so please read it. So in a typical CI/CD pipeline, as the folks surveyed, 50% of surveyed individuals have said that they have started using co-pilots and AI tools in their code generation and code deployment. But at the same time, throughout the pipeline, we also see more AI being used in observability, monitoring, incident response. It looks like a double-edged sword. AI creates new vulnerabilities, new risks, but it also gives you a new tool, a new tool in your arsenal to combat and stay ahead of cyber threats. So how is your conversation with customers shifting with this new area of AI coming in, both to the development stack and to the cyber stack?
So we're seeing a few things. In one side, the development side is driving the innovations and it's being very fast. On the other side, sometimes the security control might be putting it behind. But what we are actually trying to advise the customer today is the security has to be enabler of the business. Security has to be enabler of innovations. That's why how to enable a platform to be able to support that developments and reduce the friction between the development and security is actually one of the key areas many customers are focusing as well, which is also one of the things we are trying to achieve as well.
Yeah. Now, more and more of this development, it happens today in the cloud. You can make use of the scalability of the cloud and you make use of the microservices, right? And you talked about shift left, attacks shifting left, but security is also shifting left. We talk about DevSecOps, right? How has that practice been working with customers to build some of those DevSecOps capabilities to shift security leftward in the CI/CD pipeline?
Okay, so maybe I just take this as from some of our experience perspectives. DevSecOps is actually not a new thing. So we have seen the DevSecOps for a long time ago. The key difference here is how to have a consistent policy from DevSecOps all the way to runtime. That is the key difference today. And that is we are seeing frictions between in many of the organizations. So basically, you are using a different policy, you are using different intelligence in DevSecOps, and while in the runtime, you are using a complete different kind of policy and a different kind of intelligence, and that because of these gaps and create a lot of frictions. So some of it being not detected in the DevSecOps, but actually appear in the runtime and creating all the issues. One of the key things we are trying to advise the customers to think about how can you make this become consistent? How can you make this policy become consistent? How to make it intelligence become consistent? So you can use in the same compliance policy to governance your runtime and apply that policy into the build time. That's one of the things we're trying to achieve.
Fantastic. Scott and Leng, maybe I tap on your views, your observations of the industry. A lot of development work is going on the cloud, right? So what are your views on DevSecOps and security shifting left? Do you see that happening more and more?
Yeah, I'm going to address one of the common pitfalls that we have noticed, not just from me, but also from the peers that I've talked to on DevSecOps. A lot of time, DevSecOps fail because of the gates, too many levels of controls, too many levels of governance, and software developers, especially them, they really don't like all this checks.
Absolutely.
Because that will slow down their process.
Absolutely.
That so-called agility.
Absolutely.
But then that is required for security, and that is when I think David mentioned AI will come to help a lot. Because a lot of things will be able to automate it. There will be a lot of checks that we can put in place that can offload the manual work previously. A lot of tools are trying to go through this LLM, AI, Gen AI kind of improvement.
Yeah.
And I do see that moving on, DevSecOps will be something that is a default.
Right.
It's not like a good to have, but rather most people will try to use it. And hopefully, with the new tools, relationship between security as well as software engineers will come to be. I can't speak whether they will. I can't say whether they'll come into form a team or whatnot. But I think collaboration-wise will definitely improve tremendously.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think for myself, I think I agree with what Scott mentioned. And in the past, there's DevOps, and then now you say DevSecOps. But moving forward with AI, I think we should put a bit of emphasis on security, so it become SecDevOps. Because I mean, and security is actually key when it comes to the new DevOps, where you have AI and everything. But obviously, we do not want security to be the goalkeeper or the blocker. So you need to put in intelligent tools, which is like you mentioned, AI tools to govern the whole policy, to govern the whole code release, to also do all the security scans, security code access, whatever that needs to be done. It needs to be done transparently without interfering with what the development team is doing. But that's key to make sure that the whole DevOps process is being secure properly. Because in the past, we always have developer sidestepping some of this process, and because of speed, because of urgency. So again, there's no right answer to securing DevOps. But I think what we are doing now is to trying to put some emphasis back into security because of AI. Yeah. That's my view. Yeah.
I think that takes away a lot of the trouble from developers and allows them to focus just on their work and enjoy the convenience while AI works in the background to test and even suggest better ways of code, better ways of writing scripts to spin up even operational environments in the cloud. Now, to change gears a little bit, right now, it's not only in the software development lifecycle, but even in managing the infrastructure that has become complex. Because unfortunately, most organizations cannot migrate fully into the cloud. Most organizations are straddling. Some on-premise operations, some operate maybe on 2 or 3 cloud providers, and of course try to make the best of all worlds work for their organizations. These add complexity, right? And how would this impact how organizations orchestrate their cloud environments and still harmonize their cyber strategy across the complex infrastructure environments? CJ, any views?
Of course, the number one is the compliance, the governance, right? So I always believe compliance is not just like a standard kind of compliance. Compliance is the hardening of the environments.
Right.
I believe is that most organizations should customize their own kind of a compliance and make this compliance a standard as hardening security controls across multiple environments, also applying into the on-premise. And then how to make this a compliance, the governance, monitoring and the governance, the configurations, and at the same time, where is the automated remediations and automated response came into the integrations, and that will be key things to make. First is where is the misconfiguration. The second is how can quickly respond back to remediate the risk, right? So risk prioritization is also important because in the cloud environments we can see a lot of alert, and how can you find out alert and identify a risk asset, prevent the asset become incident. That's the key things from cloud security perspective.
That's right.
Yeah.
Scott and Ling Wei, maybe I could tap on your views a little bit more. What do you think today is the biggest gap when organizations are trying to take what they have in their existing security stack and try to extend it into the cloud versus building a cloud native security architecture that's already built for the cloud by design? What are your observations and which approach do you think works for organizations to modernize their cyber stack?
So maybe I go first. I mean, I haven't actually thought of the answer, but I come from a very what do you call it? The view of how a cyber attack happens. So cyber attack happens in 4 steps, right? First step is that they need to find the attack surface. So from your on-prem view, your attack surface is a lot smaller because everything is on-prem.
Yeah.
Then you go to the cloud,
Much bigger.
much bigger. So how do you secure your cloud? So that's number one question. So how do you reduce your attack surface? Number two is that after they find you, they have to compromise you. So again, the same idea. On-prem, I mean, everything is secured by maybe by a firewall or whatever. But when you go to cloud, again, same issue. So I think given that when you move to a cloud, you need to obviously put in additional tools, additional control, additional compliance check to ensure that you are, firstly, you're not increasing your attack surface. Secondly, you are not, a lot of this known vulnerability, you need to even address it earlier because now you have less layers of control maybe, and that's my view. So obviously there's a third step and fourth step which I won't talk about it. Let's Scott.
Yeah. Scott, any views or you agree with Ling Wee?
Yeah, of course I agree with what he says, right? But riding on his point, I think there is this misperception which he mentioned earlier. Misperception of moving to the cloud equals to more secure, security for their data, security for their asset. Simply because they believe that all the cloud service provider, they are ISO certified, they are SOC 2 certified. So therefore, going there should make me more secure, right?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think again, Ling Wee and CJ has mentioned, a lot of thing has to do with poor identity management control, patch management. And I think another thing that I want to say is, it really depends on how, what is the business case in the beginning? Why do they want to move to the, is it purely because of simply because moving to the cloud is the way to go? Or is that because someone else, most of the time is the cloud service provider, enticing them to go to the cloud because then increase their profit? So or is it because, and hopefully that's the main reason why people move to cloud, they move because they want to have agility, they want to have flexibility, and more importantly, for scalability. So I think it's very important for organization to not rush, take your time, and more importantly, again, back to my very first point, build the team competency before you move too fast. Otherwise, it will become non-sustainable, and when it's non-sustainable, it will become unreliable, and the whole thing will eventually fall.
Right. Now, CJ, of course, you definitely work with many customers, right? And different customers would be at different parts of their cloud migration journey. Some are just starting, and some are very mature. Like our report says, if about 40% have actually built advanced integrations with other maybe data platforms and ERP systems and even custom built applications, right, on cloud. This in some ways increases the attack surface because it's not just within your cloud environment, but you're connecting to other applications, connecting to other organizations, sharing data with the open ecosystem. So what is your advice to ensure that your customers remain resilient against some of these new attack surface areas that cloud might expose the organizations to?
A very good point. So we believe two things. Number one is inside out and outside in. Okay, so from attack surface perspective, we need to understand where is the misconfigurations inside, and this misconfigurations inside or non-compliant or whatever, or we are saying maybe a non that secure kind of a configuration might not be the exposure, but it's a potential risk. So that's what we call inside out. So this one we have to have a visibility, and there's another important part is outside in, because there's a certain part you won't be able to check from the configurations perspective. I'll just give you a very simple example. Say, okay, I want to check, SSL certificate, or I want to check TLS versions. From the configuration wise, yes, you are easy to do that. You can from inside out. But what happens if the people install an EC2 instance or install virtual machines, run the configurations inside the virtual machines? You won't be able to check in from the configurations perspective. So you have to do the outside in. So with two things integrated together, then you will be able to understand, okay, where is the total exposures, and that will be significant to help you understand where is the attack surface and reduce that. That's the first part. That's the visibility part. The second part is how to do a risk prioritization. So if you understand all this context, how does the context contribute into a specific risk, identify that asset, and fix that, remedy that as early as possible. Yeah, that's the two kind of general, I would say, is in top in my mind in terms of how to reduce the attack exposures.
CJ, you set up the conversation so nicely by bringing up this area of risk prioritization, because I would say the traditional matrices to identify whether certain IT assets, digital assets, data assets are counted as a crown jewel. In today's context, might change because what you used to call not important today is very critical to the organization, because it has either a competitive value, IP value, right? Over time, data that's being captured by the organization, the risk prioritization and risk assessment does have to go through a refresh based on how the business has evolved. And Scott, I enjoy your point when you talked about aligning the business case for going to the cloud to the business, right? Because this also has implications on what are we actually protecting, what has actually become our crown jewels. So I have to tap on the end user practitioners, right, on this view. How do you then bring that risk assessment and consistent risk prioritization process to your business and create that common language such that your business can understand risk, cyber risk, in terms that they resonate with? It could be dollars, it could be other areas. Any views, any experiences?
I'll try to address this.
It's too difficult. Yeah, it's a very hard question. Yes.
Risk prioritization, in fact, taking a step back, right? Vulnerability management program is the bane of all cyber professionals. Everyone will have their own story, will have their own challenge, and they will have their own frustration to talk about. But I want to take a page from our government officials. What I think has been most effective is going grassroots. We really must, you rightly say, right, we need to speak the language so that they can understand what's important to us is also important to them.
Exactly.
But the challenge lies and the art lies in how to get a technical risk
into a business
into
language.
a business
Translate,
language so
yeah.
that they understand. Yes.
Right.
That is an art. I use the word grassroots because as a cyber professional working in an end user environment, firstly we need to know our business. What matters to them, what is existential crisis, what truly matters to them, and if it fails, if it's unavailable, it will affect, you will hurt them badly. Could be a physical risk, could be revenue, could purely just be losing a contract, or in some cases, reputational.
That's right.
All these matters, and it differs. But if you really understand your business, you will know there's a certain ranking even within this field.
Yeah.
So by playing to that point and speaking the right language to the right people, again, that is an art that cyber professionals have to learn. Probably a whole new topic altogether. It is not easy, but there will be some success.
Yeah, I love how you frame it as an art. Lingui?
Yeah, so I think Scott has it's very good at explaining it. I mean, I'm not so good, but I can give an example. So in the past, when you use Microsoft Office, you take a file, you only share to someone you trust, and they use it. But now with the proliferation of M365, where everything, you use Teams, you share your document, you share here, share there, share everywhere. I mean, the user themselves might not be aware in the end, where did the document go to? I mean, how to explain to them the risk that your procurement document, a very IP specific important document that has intellectual property, you share it around, where did it end up to? He doesn't know. Yeah. So you just go to somewhere very far. It might be your competitor, it might be anybody. So this is one of these key risks that a lot of end users are not aware of. And I think document management, data classification, data governance is a very key topic that has been, it has not been overlooked, but with AI and everything, it gets even worse.
Yes.
Yeah. So these are some of these topics that I mean I don't have an answer, but I'm just trying to mention it. So anyway, yeah, that's my view. Yeah.
So we're coming to the end of the podcast. So yeah, that was a tough question, but you guys navigated it very well, right? So now to end off, lighter question for sure, right? As a practitioner looking into the future, what are your wishes for the future in terms of readying your organization for a more digital, more intelligent, and more AI-driven future? Might not be an easy question after all.
Oh, okay. Maybe I start first.
Okay,
I start
do
first
it.
so it's easier. So I think for myself, it's really about, I talk about incident response because cybersecurity is really about incident response, right? So now incident response might not be so automated. Is there a tool that can make things easier so that we sift through all the noise and then we really concentrate on the critical part of things? Because now with AI and everything, that going to be a lot more noise than ever.
Yep.
So how do we get, how do we fix the fundamental? That means all the real alerts comes to us instead of spending even more time to try to dig up and see what are the real problems. So that's my view, at least from that portion. And then on the vulnerability management, we also have a hard time because vulnerability management is one of the areas that I think over the past 20 years no one actually found a good solution other than patching or mitigating. So is there a tool that is miraculously can solve this problem? Again, I don't have an answer, but we hope we can have such a tool, right? So that's my two main areas of things that I want. Wishes, yeah.
Yeah, Scott?
My wish is more people focused because that is always the hardest. People is the hardest to change.
Wonderful.
Okay.
I wish that non-IT, non-cyber people can be more educated with cyber risks.
Okay.
This is a long talk about topic. How can we educate our board directors to be more cyber aware? How can we collaborate with our risk officer, our CFOs, our legal colleagues, our lawyers, so that we can collaborate in the same level and we don't have to go through the same, go through the effort of explaining what is this, what have we been doing. And when we, just like financial terminologies, once you talk about EBITDA, you talk about PATMI, immediately they know what's going on. We have been, cyber professionals, CISOs have been taking time, putting in effort to learn business terms. I think it's about time they also return the favor and take tasks up. We don't need them to know everything, but at least we don't have to explain what is a phishing attack, what is a ransomware. I mean, most people know ransomware.
Now they know.
What is now they know, right? But all this, it can come true. It will really make everyone's, at least the cyber professionals, life.
So CJ, before I ask you for your wishes, I have to ask because you're from Palo Alto Network, so you're involved in solutioning.
Yep.
So you've heard Ling Wei and Scott talk about their wish list. Can Palo Alto Networks do anything to address their wish list?
Okay, so number one, I have my own wish list, right? So yes, I mean, we are in a way of developing certain kind of a solution, and one of my wish lists is really about the maturity of the AI power security, right? So for example, Scott mentioned about can I have some of non-cyber professional and able to understand what is the risk and how to operate, right? So for example, you might actually get into this platforms or maybe a portal and asking, hey, what's my top risk? And I'm showing you what's exactly the risk here. And from the risk, I say, yeah, okay, I don't understand all these things, but show me, what exactly this means and how can I take the actions to, to fix that. And they say, oh yeah, this is the one. Recommendations. Why this is become risk because reason A, B, C, D, E, right? So in the end of the day, you know what? Can you show me the steps to fix that? Can you help me to automate this fix? And is there any process I can trigger right now, or maybe one of the small buttons, or maybe you can type, okay, fix the issues, and that we will start doing that. I would say, okay, I will wish this has become mature. So to answer questions, can Palo Alto offer that? We are in a beta right now. So and in fact, actually has been going quite well. So we did a kind of a demonstration to quite many of the customers showing on how the exactly can helping we call operations ease, right, and make the cyber defense become not a kind of a tough, and that's the one of the things we are
In
trying to
fact,
always achieve.
democratize the cyber defense effort to the users, because now there's AI to tell them exactly what are the simple things they can do to improve their cyber hygiene.
Exactly.
That's wonderful.
That is
fantastic.
exactly one thing.
Yeah. Any other things on the wish list?
The other wish list is really about like automations, right? So in fact, automation is always pain. I understand from many of the customers. So that I do wish this has become more easier in terms of integrations, and all like industry can be integrated from, for example, ITSM tools into the security systems. And make that integrations easier, and everyone maybe follow a certain kind of standard, and it's okay. I follow this, and I can easily trigger the process and do the rest of the stuff. So that's my wish list from technology perspective. Yeah.
Wonderful, and it's wonderful that it happens that your wish list from a product perspective answers very well to what the Lingui and Scott highlighted. And one of the CISOs also shared with me that when it comes to responding to cyber incidents, the cyber team plays a role to identify, but it needs a strong collaboration and process integration with the IT team, the business team, like what you say, integrated into the service management workflows to very quickly remediate. And how we build those automations in accelerate the remediation process by a lot. And in fact, takes the trouble away from the business teams from their daily work because things are automated at the back. Wow, what a wonderful sharing. I have to thank our panel here. They all told me that they are first-time podcasters, but it sounds like you're all seasoned podcasters already. So I'd like to thank you guys, and thanks for contributing on the podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. All right.